Welcome to another episode of the Co-op Connection Podcast. Our special guest on this episode is Slade from Stargel Office Solutions. We discuss the common misconceptions in the copier printer industry, where copiers are headed, and what separates Stargel from other companies out there. We hope you enjoy. Well, Slade, thank you for joining us today. We're very excited that you were able to come and be a part of this episode.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to get started.
Yeah, great. Well, we try to do this with really any vendor that comes in to do this. Could you just give us a brief history of Stargel, maybe how you guys started and where you are now?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'd love to. So, brief history. My father started this company 38 years ago, 1987. Prior to that, he sold typewriters in downtown Houston in about 1969. And that's how the whole office equipment thing started. But after that, him and another gentleman started a copier, fax machine, and typewriter company.
Okay.
And unfortunately, as some partnerships do, that dissolved out. And in 1987, he started Stargel Office Solutions, which is the company that we're at today.
Okay. So for almost 40 years now, it's been in the family. Because now it's you,
yep.
Right? And your brother, correct?
Correct, second generation. So my brother and I are running it. My brother's more on the operations side, and I'm more on the sales side.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yes.
And I feel like 40 years nowadays is a big testimony to the longevity and the reliability that you have as a company.
Yeah, and I mean, some of our customers actually, I don't know if we have any that have been there 40 years, but there's some definitely that have been with us for 25, and we still have 2 employees that started with Jack, that started the company.
Really?
There's 3 employees and 0 customers.
Wow. And
Yeah.
so they're still there with you.
And 3 of them.
That's
yes.
awesome.
Yes.
Great. Well, let me ask you this. You're in an industry where I feel like a lot of people view it as it's cut and dry. Obviously, if we need a copier, we need a copier. But you and I have talked. There's more to it than that. What do you see as some common misconceptions that maybe some of our members might have that you like to maybe give advice to or something like that?
Okay, great question. I would say the number one misconception would be that you have to wait till your lease is up.
Okay.
So most copiers these days are on 39 to 63 month lease terms. So we can come in, let's just say on a 63 month lease, we can come in month 40, if you will,
Okay.
and really start digging in and doing our needs analysis, and then can make the numbers work. Right now, if it was month 12 on a 63 month lease,
Right.
Probably not.
Okay.
But you want to be a little over half.
Okay.
So and that goes with any lease. So if it's a 36 month, at month 20 you come in and we can make the numbers work typically.
Okay.
Another misconception is we could come in too and manage your current fleet. Typically not your current copier fleet unless it's Toshiba or something that is on our side.
Okay.
But any network printer that you have, we can come in and manage that. So you wouldn't need to spend any money on the printer. We would just come in and maintain that printer for you.
Interesting. I think that's a huge benefit to understand
Yeah.
is that you may not have to pay a bunch of money if you're switching. I wonder how many people know that. Like, oh, well, I'm not currently happy with the vendor I'm with, but I don't want to pay a bunch of money to move my printing services. And you're saying, well, you wouldn't have to just buy new printers. You could
Right.
come in and help with the headache of the vendor that they have, but still help them save money by.
Right.
Okay.
And 2, a lot of people aren't currently managing their printer fleet, right? So we'd come in and say IT does it, or where are you getting your toner for printers, or who are you calling whenever your printer's down? IT doesn't like doing that. They're above it, right? I mean,
Right.
they're working on much more complex problems than
Sure.
a printer.
Sure.
So we would come in and take all that off your IT department or all that off your whomever's doing it and just put it all on Stargel.
Okay.
So we manage printers just like you're used to managing a copier.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's good to know. I think that is a good misconception to tackle. And so with that, even some of the things you mentioned are newer to me. What do you see as some of the bigger changes in your industry, whether it's technology-wise or just even the service that you provide? What are some of those bigger changes that you've seen?
Sure. So the biggest change was probably about 20 years ago whenever a copier was just a copier, right? And it wasn't on your network, right? So what saved the copier industry to not be a typewriter or calculator or fax machine is that it is on your network now. So they print and scan. Mm-hmm. So everyone probably knows that. But I mean, that was the biggest change for this industry in my lifetime probably. But now, like today, I mean, changes are everyone's doing a lot more scanning than they are copying, and then printing's probably right in the middle. So it used to be all copy, then it was print, now it's all scanning. So we can manage those scans for you. What do you do with those scans? Where are you putting them in the cloud? So we're also a software solutions company. So we can manage anything, paper, electronic, basically cradle to grave. Any piece of information or paper that goes through your company from infancy to storage, we can handle that for you.
Okay, that's great. It's good to know. And so when you have, let's say there's a co-op member that has a need, or as you've mentioned, they have a 63-month lease and they're in that sweet spot that you talked about. How do you go out to a church or a nonprofit and make sure that you're meeting their needs? Each one's going to be different. So how do you deal with that?
Great question. So, what we don't want to do is do it quickly and just say, okay, you've got a 35-page per minute copier now with a staple finisher and hole punch, and so we're just going to quote you that same thing, but our brand, right? So, does that work? Sure, it works. But we really want to get out and meet with them and go through the needs analysis, and we have a proven process that at the end of the proven process, the last thing is a customer for life. So that's what we're looking to make, the end result. But we want to see, what you're printing, what you're copying, what you're scanning, if you're shredding things, if you need to store things in the cloud. There's just so much more to a copier these days than just copying.
Yeah.
So, that's how I would answer that. And we just want it to be right, because maybe you don't need one 35-page a minute anymore. Maybe you need two 20-page per minute, and logistics change and all things like this. So we just want to make sure that we're getting the best solution for your unique needs.
That's great. You've kind of already answered this, but maybe there's something you'd like to add on to this question is, what do you feel like separates you over other printer copier services companies out there? Obviously, you've got this mindset that whatever a customer may have, we want to go in, even if it's the same thing, you want to make sure there's that good customer service. So what are maybe some other things that you feel like sets you apart?
Yeah, so I would say the number one thing that sets Stargel apart from competition is our service department, right? So, of course, I'm going to think that, right? But the customer thinks that too. So we bring out there's a survey that comes out after every service call, and the customer answers that survey for us. They don't have to, but most of them will.
Sure.
And we're rated at a 93% right now.
Okay.
And so that's pretty much unheard of. Most people are about 85, 84, even down to 70. But the only reason we are here is because of you, the customer. Mm-hmm. So if it's hard enough to pull a customer away from their current vendor. So once we do that, or able to do that, we want to hang on to them forever, and we'll do anything it takes to make it right.
That's great. Yes. Yeah. Anything else that you would add?
I guess too, just we treat our internal customers as we do our external customers. And so our tenure at Stargel, we have managers there that I said earlier, 38 years. But the average is probably about 20 to 25 years. Most companies these days, it's hard to keep internal employees.
Sure.
So we treat them the same. And then our external customers too, like I said, I don't think we've had any for 38, but definitely 20s and 25s.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Slade, you had mentioned something with the 93%, and I think it's good to go back on real quick, because you and I have seen this. I've actually been to your office and seen these awards that you've gotten. Yes. The 93% is very impressive, but it matters more than just what customers are saying as well, because you actually are held accountable by Toshiba and the other companies that you offer. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Good point.
Yeah.
So Toshiba has what they call a ProMaster Award, and the only way that you get that, so Toshiba really doesn't distribute product out on their own in our industry. So whenever a customer has the Toshiba product from Stargel, Stargel is what they think about Toshiba, right?
Yep.
So if we make a mistake, then they're going to think Toshiba's bad.
Correct.
So Toshiba comes down 4 times a year unannounced and pulls our last 10 service calls. And they go out to those customers and make sure we're using genuine Toshiba parts, make sure the toner's genuine Toshiba toner. And they actually interview the customer from how the sales rep was to how the technicians are, if we have to reschedule for parts, all kinds of things. And then so that way Toshiba knows that we can't tarnish their name.
Wow.
Right? And so we've been a Toshiba Toshiba dealer for about 25 years.
Okay.
And we've had the top honors of the Pro Master for about 23 of those.
Okay.
It took David Red, our VP of Service, to get up there. It took him 2 years, but since then, we've won that 23 years in a row.
That itself proves why you're going to be different than others right there. Because when you have that accountability and you're meeting that accountability, and you said it's random, right? You don't know when.
Random, yeah.
Okay.
Once a quarter.
Wow.
And they just pull service calls randomly and go out with the tech and meet those customers.
Right.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And you had mentioned other manufacturers.
Yes.
So I say Toshiba a lot just because we've been with them the longest. But we're also a Xerox production dealer. So we carry the Xerox line, and especially whenever it comes into 100 pages per minute and more.
Okay.
We carry Brother printers. We're a big HP house.
Okay.
So anything that has to do with network printers and or plotters would be HP. KIP is another plotter vendor that we're under, and then a little bit of Lexmark, and last but not least, Epson.
Okay.
So we just put on their line about 2 years ago. Excellent product, fits well in churches.
Great.
So we've got plenty of needs for you, and we're not gonna just we're gonna make sure that it fits you best.
Great. That's awesome. And then obviously you're able to help really any of our members wherever they may be. Mm-hmm. You have your showroom here in Houston.
Right.
So, if members want to come and actually, we've been, it's very impressive.
Yes.
It's definitely a way for our members to come and experience what you're talking about, or you go out to some of our members here or wherever they may need help. You're available to them.
100%. Yeah, so our main corporates in Houston, we made our first acquisition in 38 years about 2 years ago. It's right outside of Austin. It's in Round Rock, Texas.
Yep.
So we can be local there in that Austin area as well. But with that said, we can go all over the United States. Now, it wouldn't be one of my personal technicians from Stargel, but we could make the deal here, and then we would deliver the equipment to wherever it was in Georgia or wherever, and we would have an authorized Toshiba dealer, and they would install and service that for us.
Great.
But we would be the liaison, the Houston people, and then we'd go from there.
Great. Well, I do appreciate you joining us today.
Absolutely.
I think this has been phenomenal. I think even learning about what you have to do to be held accountable is great. It's something where you never know in any industry if you're going to get the right person. But when you have somebody like yourself and the Stargel brand that has to adhere to certain things, and they do that for 23 years, and they're consecutively on top, that means a lot. So I appreciate you coming out and doing this with us.
Awesome. Well, I had a great time. Hopefully y'all learned something, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Co-op Connection Podcast. To learn more about Slade and Stargel Office Solutions, please visit our website, www.churchcoop.org.